Can you see the candles in the background? It's all about promotion.
I can see the candles.
We have new products too. We've got reed diffusers. Oh, hey,
yeah.
We're live.
Oh, hey.
My place smells really good.
I bet. You are the fragrance. I'm trying to think of an alliteration. I really can't. You are the queen of scents in more ways than one.
We are worth every cent.
Have you ever used that?
I do use that as a hashtag on the Instagram.
I like it.
I should probably use it more, but whatever. Anytime I'm like drinking and come up with something super witty, I try and write it down and then use it. So isn't that how you're either in the shower or you're drunk when you come up with the best ideas, right?
It's true. Or driving.
Or driving, yes. Not always drunk.
No.
In the shower, usually. There's a lot of, keep a notepad in there. Not in the shower, but like near the bathroom. Or I just yell it out to Alexa so she can remember for me. So, hey friends, welcome to Meet Us for a Drink. We are live, and this is episode number 16. 16. We are live I know, right? It's 16 episodes. It's awesome. We're live every Wednesday at 5:30. It is the Sweet 16. There you go. We're live every Wednesday night at 5:30 p.m. from beautiful Long Beach, California. We are broadcasting on Facebook and on YouTube. Make sure you like and follow us on our Meet Us for a Drink Facebook page. You'll get all the announcements about upcoming shows and who our guests are going to be. You can also check out past shows and easily tune into the live broadcast because you'll get a reminder. You can also find us on our YouTube channel, Meet Us for a Drink. Just do a quick search on YouTube for Meet Us for a Drink and we will pop right up. Hopefully.
And subscribe while you're there. And
tell all your friends. And we are live, which means that you can comment while you're watching the show. We love running commentary and color commentary. And we will definitely do our best to running commentary and color commentary. That's the same thing. Sorry.
Is it?
Kinda, right? I don't know. I'll have to look it up or ask Alexa or Google or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but
I didn't go to broadcast journalism school, writing, nothing. We're winging it. I'm winging it.
We're both winging it. However, I think we should know what common phrases are, right? Color commentary and running commentary. We'll get to the bottom of this.
All right.
If you're watching, you can comment and we'll do our best to reply. And you may even see your comments come up on the screen. Also, just be warned, this broadcast contains adult language because we are adults and we're drinking. And the world is kind of fucked up right now. So we have a lot to say about it. At about 5:50, we will be joined by Maureen Neeley. Sorry, I screwed that up the first time. At about 5:50, we will be joined by Maureen Neeley, a Long Beach house historian. Through her company, House Stories. Get it? House Stories. Maureen has researched over 400 homes in the last 12 years, helping people landmark their homes and apply for the Mills Act. And we will find out all about that when she joins us. My name is Keri Palustre. I am the owner and candle maker at EKP Creations Candle Company. And this here is my friend, Heather Kern. She is the general manager and dream facilitator at Made by Millworks and Eleanor Drinkery in beautiful downtown Long Beach. Hey, Heather, how's it going?
Hey, Keri. I don't know. It's going.
Yeah.
Going is good. It's moving. We're in perpetual motion. We're continuing to move every day on the calendar. Do calendars exist anymore?
It's actually freaking August right now.
I know. Yesterday I was even thinking like the lighting was starting to feel a little fallish.
What?
Because, as we get closer to September, the sun gets closer to the planet or whatever. And there's it creates longer shadows. And that's where that beautiful fall feeling comes from. And I just love that,
Yes, I do too. I'm actually really looking forward to it. Although, in actuality, we are still in the hottest time of year here in
Not
Southern
anymore.
California.
I don't know if you know, but heat doesn't come till October.
Well, I feel like August and September are pretty darn hot. As a candle maker, I can attest to the fact that in the past I've had to cancel shows in August
Yeah,
because
yeah.
my candles will melt. But yes, fall is right around the corner, and I'm super excited for it. And again, as a candle maker in the candle world, we are totally pouring fall scents right now, and we're gearing up for all the good fall stuff, spices and pumpkin.
I
And
predict this will be the biggest year of pumpkin things on record because people have been home and it's all about the home and the hearth. And that's like what all of that like pumpkin vibe is all about that, right? It's all about
I,
home and
I think
warmth and
so. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I feel like spice is all about that, and cinnamon is all about that,
nutmeg. Yeah.
and nutmeg. And I know that pumpkin scented things and pumpkin flavored things. Pumpkin doesn't actually really taste like much. It's all the spices that are added to it that give it
Yeah.
the feel and the, the yeah, that's what we're looking for, is all the extra stuff. So
Right.
I'm all about like the cinnamon and the spice and everything nice. And so that's like where I'm going. I mean, I might call it pumpkin, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. Fall scents are in the works over here at EKP Creations, and so it's giving me hope, something to look forward to, because honestly, it's been kind of a shit week, and I needed something to look forward to, and I needed some hope because CJ wants pie now. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's out there. Let me tell you. Head over to the pie bar. She's got pie. I'm sure she's going to be rolling out some pumpkin deliciousness any minute now. So yeah, we got burgled. We were burgled. We had a,
Oh
we had a
no.
yeah, we had a break-in, man. We
In
got
your house or where?
we didn't get it was in our garage. Some shit bag broke into our garage and stole some things from us, some valuable things that have lots of sentimental value and monetary value as well. But so it's been extra frustrating these last couple of days trying to just, get through that unsettling feeling of being violated, and the fact that like you can't do anything about it, really. I mean,
It's just gone. Yeah.
it's just gone. Yeah,
Yeah.
we can scour all the, the websites that people post things on and go and check out pawn shops and all that stuff, which we will do, and we'll do our due diligence to try and get our stuff back. But, the bottom line is like, this happened and you can't change it, and there's not much to do about it. And what gives me some, I don't know. I don't know. I'm really angry. I'm really fucking angry. And I'm not typically an angry person, but now I'm walking down the street like, did you do this? Was it you? Do you know the person that did this? Like, you made my husband really sad. And I don't like it when my husband is sad, when, because it was his stuff that got taken, and that,
We went to get something out of our storage unit on the day before Christmas
yeah. Ugh.
and discovered that it had been broken into.
The day before
And
Christmas.
I know. And who knows? I was like, well, we haven't been here since like September. So who knows how long it's been sitting here and how many different people have come in here, and not everything was gone, but they did take, like, I had this big antique toy chest and it had a bunch of stuff in it that was just, I
Yeah.
don't even know what the value was. It's just gone. And like these I've had these like IKEA wall shelves forever, but they were good. They were like these really good ones that were kind of retro, and I just kept hanging on to them, and so those are gone. I don't know why they took those.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
it's just it's so frustrating. It's just,
super,
they're just gone. I don't know,
yeah, it's super frustrating. I'm definitely vacillating between being really, really angry and then trying to just remind myself that like times are really hard right now and a lot of people are suffering and a lot of people are desperate. And I'm really grateful that I have a place to live and, um, I have other items that bring me joy, and so does my husband. And this is not the end of the world for us. And a lot of people are facing a lot tougher times. And I try and remind myself of that a lot. Because you know what? It's a hard time out there for a lot of people. And it's breaking my heart every day to see how much people are struggling right now, whether it's small businesses or people struggling to pay rent or
or
whatever.
just struggling, because it's just, it's kind of depressing.
Struggling.
Things are just kind of depressing.
Things are kind of depressing. I mean,
there's still plenty of things to do, and like, there are still plenty of summer activities that we can do, and we can still go. We live close to the beach. We're so fortunate. That's free. And despite what all, like, look, there is so much friggin' sand real estate in Long Beach.
yeah.
And I also went to Bolsa Chica one day recently, and I just want to say, like, pictures are worse than the reality, because I don't know, like, it's always, my entire life, it's been common courtesy that you don't put your towel right next to the person that's already there. It's generally like 10 or 15 feet away.
Yeah.
Now, if you just sit sideways and take a picture, it looks like everyone's right on top of each other.
Definitely.
But then there's also like this sweet spot. There's the line of, there's like most people will gravitate towards sitting right on the edge, right close to the water where you're looking down. But then there's that sweet spot between the ocean line and the parking lot, or where the sand starts, where it's usually like a dead zone.
Totally.
Like, there's usually not anyone there. It's so easy that you can just like pull up in your car, get out, sit for a while, go back in your car and go home. It seems to me like the safest thing. And to me, the beach is just very zen. Like, the wind and all that just really takes me out of my head.
Yeah.
I really, so, I mean, we could still go to parks and all that, but it's
I was
just
going to say parks too, like we've got a lot of parks that have a lot of really big trees with a lot of big, like, fun root system, which means, thank you. I appreciate that. It means there's a lot of shade and, it's an open space. You get a lot of breeze, and it's nice to be able to just go outside and put your mask on, but clear your head, right? Like,
I think the hard part is, like, I mean, you're still working and I'm still working, but it's maybe not the same way and it's not in the same capacity. And so it just feels like there's not as much worth right now.
Right.
It's like, I thought the idea of having free time or being able to work from home always sounded romantic, but it's kind of not, like, because, there's just still too much uncertainty, and there is still just, actual realities of dangers.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but yes.
Yeah. It's a different, obviously, I mean, I'm going to say this and it's going to sound silly, but it's a totally different time that we're living in, where we have to make these adjustments, as a general manager of a retail space, you guys have to make adjustments on how to handle, once you get to that point where you're able to reopen, you will have to be able to handle, customers coming in and keeping them apart and reminding people that they have to stay apart. I was at Home Depot the other day, and there were definitely people who were getting too close. And it was like, hey guys, let's spread out just a little bit, and the staff has to come over and remind people, hey, you need to keep your distance. I'm going to have you move over here. We'll move this line in this direction. That's all people need sometimes, because I think we get so focused on the task at hand. I'm here to do this thing, and I've got to get this list of items from Home Depot, it's easy to kind of forget, but it's important, obviously, to be mindful of, the changes that we're having to make in our world. And, I'm just going to say it again, like, just put your mask on when you go out, like, we have so many different options of great masks. They're really a fashion accessory at this point.
We have a ton at Made.
Yes.
Madebymillworks.com.
Yeah, I mean, go shop online and support your local makers. You guys at Made are doing a great job of giving the opportunity to a lot of us local makers to sell masks. And they're so cute, you know? And I mean, I don't know if you watch the news, but Nancy Pelosi every day has a mask that matches her fucking outfit. It's
Damn
on
straight.
Yeah, I mean, she's just, yeah, exactly. And all of us can do that. I saw a friend today who is a cat lover and a cat mama. And of course, her mask has like fucking whiskers on it. Like,
Oh, Leslie made some like that. She took some pipe cleaners.
it was Leslie.
Oh, okay.
So cute though, right? Like
Yeah.
I mean, it's just one more way of expressing your personality, just do it.
Can I tell you something I was thinking about this week?
Yes.
The Starbucks that's Mike says, and candles make smell. I don't know that.
Candles mask smell?
Mask
Candles
smell,
mask
not make.
smell. They mask smell. Yeah. So everybody's smelling good. Believe me, there's plenty of good smells to go around.
I was thinking about the fact that the Starbucks next to Made closed, right? And there were so many regulars there that we saw every day. And I mean, I would go over there constantly, but there was like most coffee places, and they had a little patio. There were these guys that would hang out there every single morning. I don't think that they knew each other before they started hanging out there. But they were all kind of friends, and they would hang out various hours. I really miss seeing them. But then I thought to myself, oh my God, where are they going? Like, right. I mean, I was really thinking, oh my God, where else could they be going? And I went to the Starbucks on Broadway and Magnolia by the courthouse that actually has a patio. And I saw one of them sitting there. And I was just so happy because, when businesses close, of course, they affect the business owner, the staff, but they also affect the community. Like, when a business goes away, it's you're not going to see that shopkeeper or that server, or it's not going to be your place to hang out. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I still am so sad that when Cafe Neo closed, because it was like some place that we went to eat every week. And whatever, because what it became is not really the point, but it was like a place where we went, we knew the server. I miss it, so I think we don't think about the impact on us mentally to not have like some of the places,
our regular stuff.
Yeah, because as soon as things like places like Portfolio opened just takeout, I was going, because just that 5-minute exchange with the people that work there that I've been talking to and saying good morning to for so many years was super meaningful to me.
I was reading an article the other day about how, people who are older, who are suffering from dementia, are really kind of extra suffering during this time, and have been since the outbreak of the pandemic, because their routines have been so interrupted, right? Because they can't have visitors. If you're living in a memory care facility, you can't have visitors. And that has made such an impact. And we've actually seen quite a decline in people who have memory issues and dementia, because the things that they're used to have kind of been taken away from them. And it made me think about how, like, I don't have dementia, I don't have memory issues, but I do have a routine, and you have a routine. We all have, like, just what you're talking about, right? Like the places that we go to that make us feel like we're part of the community, or even the places that we drive by and you're like, I might not go there, but I drive by there constantly. Oh, that place, there it is. I'm super sad to see that my local yoga studio closed up, and although I didn't go there on a regular basis, it made me feel like, it reminded me of yoga constantly. It reminded me that I needed to get back into my practice, and that I should go home, or I should take a deep breath, like just those little things. I would drive by and I'd see it, and I would take a deeper breath, and it would calm me down a little bit, from whatever I was doing. And now it's gone. And it is it does have an impact. And I feel like now we're 100 months into this. And, you know, like 2020 is the longest year of our lives. And I really, really would love to see, you know, things change a little bit, you know, so that we can actually, I want my routine back. I want my stuff back, man. You know, like I want it to be normal, and I don't want to eat breakfast in the middle of the fucking street. Although I'm super stoked that I have the option to do that.
Yes.
You know, like I just can't even imagine. You see the Glendale Galleria has like tables set up in their parking structure.
Denny's, they all do.
Yeah, everybody, and thank God, you know, thank God we're not Portland, and it's not going to rain.
We
you
could
know,
do this all months.
yes, except
We'll
for
just
maybe
we'll just put some heaters out there.
for sure, and like an umbrella. You know,
It's raining? It doesn't rain.
I know it doesn't rain. No, Restoration's got it like hooked up. You know,
Yeah.
that Restoration's right up the street from me on over here on East 4th Street, and their outdoor parklet area is gorgeous, and she's got, you know, the umbrellas. You're not going to get a sunburn. You're not, I mean, like, it's beautiful. She's got little, like, it's decorated, you know. Dana's just killing it over there. So,
Well, speaking of gorgeous, I think it's time for our guest.
Yes.
So let's bring on Maureen. Here we go.
Cool.
Hi, Maureen.
Hey, Maureen.
I think let's unmute your mic.
There we go.
You need to unmute your mic, Maureen.
Yep.
There you go. How are you?
I'm good. I'm off site, and I am at my brother's community house. He's a Jesuit priest, and he lives in Nogales, Mexico, or Nogales, Arizona. Works on the border, and I'm down here for a few days to do some work and kind of see what's happening and spend some time with him. So I was having trouble getting in on the wireless because it's a little spotty here. We had a monsoon yesterday or the day before. So anyway, I've found a place in the kitchen, so you might hear they're getting dinner ready. So
that's okay.
But I've got earphones in, so I can hear you guys great. And thanks so much for having me on. Hi, Heather. Hi, Keri. Good to see
Maureen.
you again.
Good to see you too.
Your candles are working out great. Thank you very much.
I'm so glad to hear that. That's awesome. Maureen picked up a candle for me a couple of weeks ago after one of the shows that we had. And so I was super stoked about that. So it's great to have you on. And I'm excited to learn about, you know, historic homes in Long Beach. It's very cool.
Which we have a ton, right? We're like very well blessed with every year from like 1890 all the way up to, you know, 2020.
1890. Wait, that's so, I mean, that's definitely, it seems to be a recurring theme here on the show. We talk to people who have been in homes who've experienced 2 pandemics, and that is, we have a lot of that here in Long Beach, homes that have now experienced 2 pandemics. So
isn't that wild? Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So, you know, we have, I love Long Beach is, and Heather, you're native, and so I don't want to jump in anytime to correct me, but
all right.
You know, it's such a city of neighborhoods, and I think that's what I found so attractive when we moved here. Came from San Francisco, which also is a city of neighborhoods. So it really, when you ask people, you know, hey, where are you from? Generally, they tell you what neighborhood they're from, right? And then as a native, and then where'd you go to school? And it's never your college. It's actually sometimes not even your high school. It's your grammar school. Like that's your identifying factor, at least in San Francisco. And I find that that's similar in Long Beach. And I think that's why I felt so at home here. The town is laid out in a grid pattern, which I absolutely love. It has sidewalks, which I absolutely love. It has a lot of architecture that's not the same. You know, one block will have like houses from 1890 to 2020. I mean, it's a varied architecture. And I really love the fact, and you guys were touching on it, our small businesses are such a big part of this city. And historically, that is true as well. You know, we were founded by people who came, you know, they were migrants or immigrants to Long Beach. And they came from all the states. But Southern California was such a draw for people who wanted to get out of their small towns. And so we got these kind of, I know we talk about Iowa by the Sea, that kind of Midwestern ethic, but we forget that they left Midwest. They left, and there's a reason they left. So we shouldn't, kind of paste ourselves with this, we're so provincial, we're so Midwestern, we're so conservative. We had a lot of free thinkers. Women in early Long Beach were voters. They were, because the state allowed women to vote a lot sooner than the feds. Our charter was set up so that you could own property in California, women, and that was by design. So our Constitution has women able to own property. That didn't always happen in the other states. So California, and then by extension Long Beach, became a place where people could reinvent themselves. So as a house historian, I often find that women are the owners of the lots. They were investors of lots. They found a place to park their money. They came out and they wanted to turn that into more money. But it's funny, I often find women who are widows. They might have a couple kids or two, but at least in the directory, they might say they're a widow, the city directories, or in the, that's how they presented themselves. But doing a little more digging, we find that there's a Mr. Smith, back in Kansas somewhere. So they just picked up and left. And, but they didn't want to call themselves divorcees, so they would call themselves widows. And they could buy property, they could buy houses. They often had small businesses or hair salons. A lot of cafes were run by women.
Nice.
That progression of the after the Signal Hill oil strikes, Heather, you and I have talked about the Zafaria area and how Anaheim Street is so kind of a mishmash, if you will. It's got houses. It has large lots that are kind of commercial and semi-industrial. It used to have Ganal Lumber, I think, was out there, and a couple other lumber companies, metalsmiths. Lots of laundries. And you think, why are there all these big commercial laundries? And they're still there. Well, they were servicing the hotels and the full service hotels that were downtown, because people would come to Long Beach and maybe stay at the Villa Riviera, where everything was provided. It's like today's Airbnb. You would go and you'd stay in one of these hotels, motels. They were resort style. And you wouldn't have to bring anything with you. It was fully loaded with your linen, your silverware, your china, all of that. And you'd come and stay for several months. And so these laundry services, they would take in huge trucks full of laundry and then bring them back, to replace. And today you still see so much of that still there. And I love that neighborhood for that reason. It's such an authentic, working neighborhood.
Yeah, there's print shops.
And the print shop, yep, there's that. There used to be several theaters on that
giant Beacon building. I love that giant Beacon storage
building. Yeah.
It's like a giant monolith in the middle of nowhere. Yeah.
I know.
I've
seen a picture of that. It used to have it's on Anaheim near Gundry, across from the Mark Twain Library.
Yeah.
And it has, if you actually, it's a bright banana yellow right now. Yeah. I don't know if they've painted it again. So it stands out like a banana, but it has the front. If you get to take a look at it, the front has these big Egyptian columns, and it kind of looks like an Egyptian motif. So to me, it's like you look at the storage units that are out there today, and they're just so awful and boring, and they just make you want to, it's like I couldn't stand to live near something like that. It's so ugly. A storage unit, but it's got a presence, a pedestrian, human scale presence. And I have the Long Beach Public Library. I think it's on their digital archive site. You can pull up a picture of that building when it was first built and see the Egyptian motif a lot clearer. And it's really, really wonderful to see.
So Maureen, that whole district, you're talking about the Zafaria district, right? Which is up off of Anaheim Street. Now, I'm not a Long Beach native, but I'm a native to Southern California. And so I'm familiar with all sorts of fun, all the mission work that was done and the Spanish influence that we have. I don't know that I've ever heard the word Zaffaria in anything anywhere ever ever. So
and you never will. It's a totally
language.
made up name.
Wait, what? It's a made up name?
I know. I did a lot of research on this, and you know, it's been reported in the papers. It meant little village, little Mexican village. It was the name of supposedly a Long Beach Unified School Board member. None of that is true. So I reached out to kind of my network of historians, and one of them was the gal who used to be at Rancho Los Alamitos, and she died just last year. Oh my God, I'm blanking on her name. Anyway, she's an amazing historian, and Rancho Los Alamitos is very tied into Anaheim Street and Zaffaria because the Bixby family ranched at Rancho Los Alamitos, and they leased out a lot of that land right there to farmers that would sell their produce back to the rancho and that type of thing. So she concurred with me that we think at the time that Zaffaria was getting promoted, it was not so coincidentally the time that Henry Huntington started bringing the red cars to Long Beach. That was about 1902, 1904. And he ran the Newport line about 1906. And that's when Zaffaria all of a sudden becomes a thing. And we think he used a word that would be romantic and kind of speak of this,
Exotic.
this booster, people were in love with everything Spanish and Mexican and the little pueblos. And so, we're just going to name this area Zaffaria. And nobody really lived here except it was ranch land. And then there were actually small Mexican neighborhoods, if you will. When you look on the old maps, when there's these things called Sanborn maps, and they actually lay out some of the streets, and they'll have little buildings kind of hand drawn in, and it would have a label for areas around what we call Zaffaria, just called Mexicans or Mexican settlements or Mexican homes or Mexican cottages. And they did the same for Japanese because, we weren't really sure, and they weren't in the city proper at that time either, city boundaries. So they were out kind of in no man's land. So it's really interesting to study history and see how people's thought processes were, how they wrap their heads around cultures other than themselves. And so I feel sometimes I wonder, not to get into like today, but I am glad to see us making such progress, considering how short time ago where we were.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's in the scheme of things.
We have a comment from Lori Angel. She says, a widowed laundress that worked on Anaheim Boulevard. Is Anaheim a boulevard?
Well, it was Anaheim Street.
It's street, right?
Then, I'm trying to think if it became Anaheim Boulevard. Lori, do you remember? Was it Anaheim Boulevard at one point? I think it might have been.
Well, she says a widowed laundress that worked on Anaheim. Her husband and 2 daughters had lived in Huntington Beach until he died. After his death, she went to work and decided to invest in North Long Beach. She had my house and the house next to me, built in 1928.
There you go. Lori is like Miss Queen North Long Beach. So I thank you so much, Lori, for that. That's a great story. And Lori's done a ton of genealogy as well on her own family.
I was thinking, because the houses are old, what are some of the weirdest features in old houses? Like I had an apartment on Broadway. It was a 4-plex, and it had the dairy box at the back door.
Yeah.
It was like inside. It was metal.
Yep.
And it had a door both. Of course, we used it as a cat door.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a great piece of it.
Smart.
Yeah. Just the right size. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, you bring up a good point. The way if you look at most of our older homes, if they still have the integrity of the original footprint of the house, Long Beach homes, though we didn't have, like requirements of how the house should look. There were requirements of where the house would sit on the lots. And for the most part, the houses sat on one side of the lot so that the driveway could run up the other. So if you look maybe at a streetscape, you could walk down a street of fairly original homes, and you'll see the driveways are all on the same, either the south sides of all the homes or the north sides of all the homes, depending on the orientation of the block. And that was by design, so that you'd have enough light in between each of these homes. You felt like you had some yard, and then the drive would go all the way back. The garage would be back there, and then there would generally be on that same side the back door, if you will, the door to the kitchen, the door to the back porch. There was some way to enter the house, not through the front door. I don't know about you guys, but growing up, all of our friends were encouraged, let's say, to use means to get into the house other than the front door, because that would mean they would be walking through my mother's, living room and on the new carpet. And so I think it was the same then. So not only would the kids use that side door, back porch, side porch, the driveway was there. So you could pull up and you could unload your whatever's in your car. And your deliveries would be done there. So oftentimes those milk boxes would be near that porch, if not in the kitchen totally. And some of them were wonderful. Ours actually has a dial on it that you could order 3 or 4 different things. So, you'd have it closed. Milkman would come up, he'd see all your selections, leave them, and then you'd open it and have that all the next day. And they were, and they were made out of zinc, so they held the coolness very well. Yeah. So that's one.
Do we have houses with basements?
We do have some houses with basements. Absolutely. Yeah. The higher up you get, the easier it was to have a basement. Okay. So Belmont Heights, Cal Heights, they'll get basements. Bixby Knolls. So you hear what's in all of those words are height, Knolls, something with up. There are some houses in the shore as you probably know, they do flood, or the tide will come in and out of those basements sometimes. Yeah, and but generally the higher up homes did have basements, and oftentimes they weren't full basements, but they served for a lot of utility. You could put your heaters down there and things.
I went through an open house years ago of a beautiful home down, I think it was on First Street maybe. And I mean, it was a giant house, and it was it was a little out of my price range, but I walked through that house nonetheless because it was open. And the owner had created a dark room in the basement, and it wasn't a full basement by any stretch. It was actually very creepy. It was a very a narrow passageway, it was very narrow, and it was definitely a little scary to get down in there, but he had made an entire dark room out of that basement section.
Excellent.
Yeah. I wished I had written down the address, because it was so, it was, I don't know, 12, 15 years ago. And I would love to figure out, I've often driven down and been like, is it that house? Is it that one? I'm not sure which one it is, but that was a really cool kind of secret compartment, that was a great little feature of that home for sure. That you just don't see much.
Yeah. And I've had clients who've made yoga studios out of their basements. Another client that, of course, wine cellars, that's pretty often there'll be wine down there. But again, they're generally not full, they're not the full length of the house, but they're good enough and they're high enough that, you can really utilize them. And then, of course, there's the houses with attics, which are really wonderful as well. Most of those tended to be Victorians or Edwardians, because they had the higher, you can always tell it Victorian or Edwardian, they have a real peaked roof. Craftsmen started to come down like that. And those are called hip roofs. So just kind of like that. And then they had really wide eaves. And that's what would keep the house cool, is you were shaded the house by these really wide eaves under the roof. But even the craftsmen, you could, a lot of people even then or later on added dormers off the top. So there's an attic up there, but it's not super tall. But you could add a couple of dormers off the side, and you get more square footage for the house that way.
Nice.
One house had a fire pole down the middle.
Oh,
It had been owned by a fireman. I'm trying to think what else is
Any haunted
unusual.
houses?
One had poltergeists. They were quite, how would I say it? They were rather frisky. They were young, and they were probably children. And I looked and looked and looked to see what could have happened.
just when we get to the meaty part
No,
about the poltergeist and the
a
kids.
ghost for me.
I mean, I think you did.
And we're
Yeah.
back.
And
Okay.
we're back. Yes.
Yeah, so that was kind of fun. And oftentimes I'm asked, did anybody die in my house? And of course, before I even research it, I'm going to say yes. Because if the house is over 80 years old, yes, that's where people died. And so it's easy enough to say somebody died here. One house in Wilmore City, Drake Park area, that was kind of an odd situation. I didn't do a full house history on it, but I found out enough about it for the client that they wanted to know. So that Drake Park area, if you know where I'm talking about, it's another neighborhood, and it was probably the first neighborhood outside of downtown or outside city proper of Long Beach. Because Long Beach really started out just like at Ocean first and second, and Pine and Pacific, and it was just kind of that area. And there were actually homes were downtown. They were people that were living there because that was the town. But then as the town grew and got more industry and more commercial and businesses and banks, people started to move out to the suburb, basically the neighborhood. And the first real neighborhood was it was actually called Knoll Park, because Drake Park was Knoll Park, and now it's called Drake Park. And then the area we now called Wilmore City. So that's kind of from, trying to think what the eastern boundary would be. Well, one of your guests lives out there.
Like our friend Diane McNitch lives out there.
Oh, Diane, of course. Hi,
yeah,
Diane,
I think Allison. Does Allison live in Wilmore City as well?
She said she does. Yeah.
And Allison was interested in a house historian. So
so I would love to talk with her. She should just look at my website, give me a call.
Definitely.
So anyway, so that's what. So it's like from 10th down to 3rd, to the river, to thanks, Heather, to like I don't know what, the Magnolia maybe, or something like that. So So this one house, it went through its ups and downs, right? This is the story of the neighborhood. So when it was first started, there was all these Victorians and they were lovely. And then all of a sudden Victorian architecture was like, who wants that? They want the latest and the greatest. They want the craftsmen. They want, something.
Heather wants those.
You would take that. But they're so overwrought. They're doodads everywhere. All the furniture has to be covered because you don't want to, incite someone to think that it's an ankle and, get all hot and bothered. I mean, there was a lot of, you don't strike me as a prude, Heather, but maybe there's something about you. I don't know.
I would go against the rules if I had my own Victorian.
You would show that ankle and you would show those sofa legs. But so the neighborhood kind of went, I'd say, got seedy, if you will. And so a lot of people tore down some of those Victorians, but some of the smaller homes were still there. And the Navy was in town. So there was a lot of flux going on. We had a lot of transient population that was here for the Navy or supporting the Navy, or maybe you want to call them camp followers. I mean, there was a lot of mix up of people who, were just looking to make a living, right? And they'd come to California and do that. Well, so this one house, I found out that a wife actually murdered her husband in the house. So, but it was so long ago they didn't have to get disclosed, because usually as a real estate agent you have to disclose. But it was so long ago, like in the late 30s, early 40s, that it didn't have to be disclosed. I'm like, I hate to tell you this, but yeah.
Well, something you talked to me before we came on that I want to make sure we don't run out of time to miss is the Mark the Map project.
Yeah. So I wanted to mention that, I don't work for the city as a staffer. I'm a part-time librarian, but there is with our city development services department is trying to update our city's context statement. And I was like, what is context statement? What does that mean? That basically means it's all great to talk about history and like this happened when, and this is the date that this happened. But unless you have context for that, like why did that happen? Who were the people that were doing this? And why did these decisions get made? And how did these neighborhoods grow? And that type of thing, that's your context. And that's what helps the city make decisions about the future of where things get developed, the future of zoning, the future of really, you know, how the city will grow. It's by understanding where it came from. So they are updating the context statement. It's supposed to be updated, I think, every 5 years, and I think we're behind a little. But they've hired a consultant, and one of the things the consultant has asked people to do is dial into a website called Mark the Map. And I know Heather will put that up there. And Mark the Map means you, as a resident of Long Beach, might have some insight into what was going on in your neighborhood or what your family was doing a couple generations ago. Because one of the things that our previous context statement was lacking was an understanding of our different ethnicities and cultures and how they created the Long Beach that is here today. And I think the city would really like to enrich the context statement with some of those stories, some of the areas that are important to somebody other than, you know, a descendant of an Iowa immigrant. So mark the map, lb.org, and that'll get you to, you just fill out a form. Why is this important to you? And somebody will get back to you and maybe give you a little interview. So that'd be great.
That's really
Thank you.
cool. And then the other thing you talked about was all the walks you're going on.
Yeah. So, you know, I mentioned before how much I love sidewalks, and it's because I love to walk. So I started doing some long distance walking, and I started doing that in the Santa Monica Mountains. And I don't call it hiking because I'm not trying to, like, you know, beat anything or, you know, scale a boulder. But in between times, I'm trying to long distance walk through Long Beach. And I know a couple other people are doing this too. I feel like anything over 8 miles is kind of constitutes a long distance walk. And Long Beach is another reason I like it, because from San Francisco, you know, San Francisco is 7 by 7 miles, you know, 7 high and 7 wide. And I think Long Beach is about 5 by 10. So it's roughly the same square miles as San Francisco. And that's another reason why, you know, I just adopted this town. But you can walk from one end of the city to another. And so I've done 2 long distance walks so far. One from Belmont Heights up to Willow Springs Park. That's another park. If you haven't explored it, it is awesome, awesome, awesome. In the middle of the city, it's like you can hear birds. I saw cottontails. You know,
where is it?
Farm Lot 59 is up there.
Oh,
it's
okay.
between Spring and Willow, right above.
It's right above the cemetery.
Cemeteries, yeah, between California and Orange. Walk there. Then I walked down through Washington, the Washington neighborhood, Washington Middle School, which is an awesome school.
Beautiful architecture.
Architecture is incredible. And went through Poly, and then I walked through Upper Pine. You know, Upper Pine from Anaheim all the way down Pine. Wow. Nice. The architecture, the small commercial buildings, the storefronts, I'm in love with Upper Pine. And
cool.
It's amazing. So that was one long distance walk. And I'm working with Walk Long Beach, walklb.org. And you can log in and get on their mailing list. And they do a lot of short walks, but he's going to start incorporating long distance walking as well. So I'm helping them formulate that. And then the other walk I'm doing, I haven't completed it yet, is walking the whole red car diagonal through the city.
Oh, nice.
You start at Appian Way, and I think you end up by, what's the farthest, the Willow, Wardlow.
Yeah, I think you run into that park where that Pacific Blue Line station is.
Yes,
right.
So the one farthest north, like up by the river, basically, right before you cross the river. And so,
but I think there's a lot of closures. You're gonna like run into some obstacles, I think. Right.
No, I think so too.
There's some closed parks within some sections.
I'm not sure, but I've definitely heard that too, that there's some closures. But I will say that the red car Greenbelt starts down at Appian near me. And I've walked up this particular short little portion of the red car Greenbelt. And so what Heather was saying Maureen, is that I think you're going to run into some closures maybe on on the walk.
I ran into a lot of them, and I have taken friends with me, and I'm like, okay, let's talk about zoning. Let's talk about how our city worked with because it was all owned by Southern Pacific. There were easements for the Southern Pacific. How did we end up with some has been turned into parkland, and some ended up being turned over to private business, and they put up houses. Some is commercial property, and it's a good discussion to have. And now that we are knowing how much open space and having the air be above us, and having not it would have been really nice to have a thoroughfare through the city. It doesn't mean that it can't be done, because a lot of the places that are closed along the Pacific Electric right of way have alleys running next to them. So, you can kind of jog back and forth. And so that's what, we did on our walk. So yeah, I would love to do like a real red car walk, and just, you have to kind of do some
Have you seen that beautiful piece of art that's at the park that's on Obispo, that's like the front side? That thing is so
Orizaba
cool.
Park.
Orizaba Park.
Incredible piece by he's a local artist, and actually we're looking at seeing if he would bid on a piece for the Red Car Greenbelt in Belmont Heights as well. He does beautiful work. Yeah.
So many other things to find on your walk too. I mean, now there's murals and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And I've been telling you for years, they should do a historic, like a guided. They should open the schools and do like an Art Deco school tour.
Gosh,
I mean,
yeah.
I feel so lucky that all the schools I went to were these 2-story old-fashioned schools: Horseman, Jefferson, Wilson, Walkers. Like, what I saw in the movies is the kind of school I went to.
Yeah.
That's really
cool.
So
that's great that you brought that up. How wonderful. I'm working right now with the Arts Council to put together two things. One is a database that is kind of short and dirty of, where what you're referring to are those Art Deco schools, but it's all stuff that was produced during the 1930s, and it was a federal city partnership under the New Deal. So Roosevelt trying to get people to work, and he structured this thing called the Works Progress Administration, and the PWA as well, and there was an arts component to it. So the deal was the federal government would supply the cost of labor, because they were trying to get people to work. And the sponsoring entity, so the city or the school district, would provide the materials and the permits. So that's what happened with us. And we were very, very lucky in Long Beach, depending on how you think about it. We had an earthquake right in the middle of the Depression, 1933. Right. It decimated a lot of schools. So there are about 25 to 28 schools, if not more, that were either rebuilt totally or majorly renovated through the New Deal. And those were the Art Deco schools, because most of the time, what was the latest architecture? It's not Victorian. It's not Craftsman anymore. Now it's streamlined modern. It's, Art Deco. This is the cool stuff. So that's what they did. And what I loved about it is we used all our local architects. So almost all of our schools were built by Horace Austin, Hugh Davies, Edward Baum.
It doesn't mean anything to me, Keri. I don't know his name.
I got nothing. I mean,
okay, maybe
it's fancy. It's fancy.
Okay.
Okay, so you recognize that name, but these were the people that built Long Beach. So this was a big deal. They weren't just using a cookie cutter thing. They actually put a lot of effort into these schools. And when you look at these schools, so this is what my database is pulling off some of the artwork that's on the outside of the school. So you can walk by and see, like at Franklin, on their auditorium, if you can take a look and you can see it from the street, there's these bas reliefs. One is of a sower, sowing seed, and another one is of a reaper, where you're like cutting stuff. So it's like a little message to students, you sow and you reap what you sow, and da. And yes, a lot of these schools, I think there's seven or eight schools that have murals and paintings. I don't know
Nice.
if you know it, but Lowell has a bust of William Russell Lowell, who was an educator, and it's a beautiful granite bust by Louis Zack, who was an artist. The murals up at Jane Addams School are stories from the jungle, and it was a really fanciful book, and a fanciful mural. But one of the artists that worked on that mural went on to work for Stan Lee, and he developed a lot of the iconic art for Tarzan. I think that was Stan Lee, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
So it's funny, like we were the
Batman.
jumping off point for a lot of artists. Oh, maybe it was a Batman. Oh no, it was what was his name? The Tarzan guy, anyway. Oh, Burroughs. Edward Rice Burroughs was the Tarzan guy.
So not Stan Lee, who was actually like a superhero guy. So
no, Tarzan was a little bit before that.
A little bit.
So it's fascinating to think. So that tour is going to be the Arts Council will have that tour available. I'm not sure if they're going to put it like as an audio download or will it be a pamphlet.
Oh, cool.
And then they're going to also have another component that I'm putting together as a script. Exactly what you're saying, Heather. So if we make a bigger tour out of this, they can like have an open house tour of a certain number of the schools or open house tour of some of these other places, and they would have all the backstory. They can talk about it and hopefully maybe do a fundraiser with it or things like that. But absolutely, we are very fortunate to have it, and we hope to continue to work with the school district to save these and to promote these.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah, very cool. One of the things that I did at the very beginning of the lockdown and the pandemic was take a virtual tour of the Winchester House. And it was amazing. And that's what all this reminds me of, is like,
and they just found new rooms like this year.
I mean, there's like 17 trillion rooms, like it just went on and on and on and on. And the virtual tour didn't, a little bit, a lot. Yeah. But the virtual tour didn't even capture all of the, the enormity of the house itself. But it was so cool to be able to take that tour with, not being able to go there and still to be able to experience it. And it's kind of interesting, that's kind of what you're talking about now, is like how important it is for all of us to pay attention to the fact that there is so much history in the city of Long Beach, right at our fingertips, really. So gosh, thanks for like educating us, Maureen. I mean,
Really quick,
awesome.
But really quick, because someone asked this and you did bring it up. Well, you got like 1 minute to try to answer this. How do people find out about their own house?
Okay. So the first place I would look if I were you is go find your building permit. And there's a website on the city's website and development services, and it'll give you your building permits. And I think did I give that to you, Heather?
Let me look. Go ahead. Keep talking.
So if you post that up. Second way to find out is on the Long Beach Public Library.org, lbpl.org. They have a digital archive, and there's 3 things in that digital archive. One are digital photos. Don't hold your breath hoping you'll find a historic photo of your house. It's really, it's like the needle in the haystack. It's just hard to find. But B, you will find your house's address and who lived there in the city directories. And those have all been digitized from 1899 to 1968.
Oh,
so
wow.
you can go through them all and you'll find out who lived there. You won't necessarily know who owned it, because that's a separate thing, but you will find out who lived there.
And that's in the city. That's in the city directory?
City directories. It's in the digital archive at lbpl.org.
Okay.
Then there's also the Long Beach History Index, still at that site, lbpl.org. And that is little snippets of newspaper articles, like an index to newspaper articles. You might get lucky there as well.
Nice.
And then there's a whole host of other things, but I know we have a minute. But those would be, if you could do those 3 things, that would help a lot.
That's so exciting. I can't wait to do it, because my building was built in 1926. And so I'm definitely going to dive in and see what I can find.
1926?
Yes, it was.
That's an unusual year. Not a lot of things were built in 26.
Well, maybe
we didn't have, because because the Signal Hill oil boom started in 21. By about 24, it was kind of dying, like it had busted. And so we had overbuilt.
Maybe it was 24.
Yeah.
I'll look it up.
26 is perfectly fine, but if it is 26, it would be unusual, because they just, we had overbuilt, so it was kind of a bust by then.
Well, I'm definitely going to do some research. I'm super excited to do it.
Call
Thanks,
me if you have
Maureen.
any questions. I'm happy
I
to help.
will. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks so much for coming on and talking to us about all this. We've got, you know, a zillion links that we're going to put up on the event page, you know, so that everyone can find out, you know, information about their own place. That's really cool.
Oh, one more thing, can I say?
Yeah.
On September 27th, I'm going to be doing a Zoom program for the library on the New Deal art in Long Beach. So it'll be on Zoom, but it'll be live. And that's September 27th. And then one other thing about Walk Long Beach, the Ranchos Walk, we hope to have that on September 12th. So if you log in and sign up for
you
stuff,
do it on a cooler month? Why do they need to do that grueling walk in the middle of September?
Oh my gosh, right?
Take that up with Steve Gerhardt. Yeah.
All right.
Awesome. Maureen, thanks so much for all the information. We're all going to be busy becoming historians in the next, you know, a couple of days here. Very cool.
I'm going to get in all these calls. I can't find my house.
Right? Definitely. Yeah. Get ready.
All right. Thanks, Maureen. Enjoy your stay in Arizona. Be safe.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
All right. Bye-bye. Yeah, I'm fully going to become a historian. I mean, I wrote down all the stuff. I'm so excited to look it up.
Know their shit. This is the summary of this. I mean,
wait, what's the summary? I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
Librarians know a lot of shit.
Dude, librarians are the best. Am I right? I mean, yeah, they do know a lot of shit for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're willing, especially the ones that are willing to share it with us. I mean, they like to read, and you know, that's awesome.
Thank you, Lori. It was great. Great. Keep watching. Next week, we're going to be joined by Kelly McLemore from SoCal Corgi Beach.
Yay.
They got a Corgi years ago. Mr. Pickles is his name. He's world famous.
Yeah.
And they started this Corgi Beach Day.
Is it world famous? I feel like it's world famous.
It is world famous. Thousands of people come out for it. They had to do it virtually this year, but it's been in Long Beach, but most of the events have been in Huntington Beach. Thousands of corgis show up people fly in from all kinds of places.
Has the Queen ever come in with her? I mean, she's a world famous corgi owner, you know.
She might be the
Queen.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I think that would be awesome. Yeah. Anyway,
Zach Galifianakis has, or was it a guy that just looked like Zach? We can't tell from the pictures they posted, but it's fun. We'll ask Kelly about it.
I can't wait to find out. That's awesome. I feel so much better. I was a little angry and cranky at the beginning of the show. Now
it goes away.
I know, it totally does. Thanks, Heather. It's always fun to have some drinks with you.
Yeah, thanks for meeting me for a drink, Keri. And thanks to all of you for meeting us for a drink. We'll be back here again next Wednesday, 5:30. And if you can't make the show, you can watch all of our shows on demand on YouTube and on our Facebook page. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye, you guys. We'll see you next week.